high points of transformation theory again. There is a homework assignment that will be due next Saturday. All right, and that homework assignment is looking at the whole COVID-19 thing from last semester, from spring semester to now. All right, and you're going to put that in the context of transformation theory. You're going to talk about how it's affected you, where these phases kicked off, and so forth. All right, so here we go. So we already talked about Kodak. How about switch watches? How much of that did you all get? Okay, what are Swiss watches known as? They're like the finest watches made, right? Yeah. Okay, because that's kind of the whole German Swiss thing, is fine precision in manufacturing. All right, that's been their thing since World War I, really, and beyond. All right, so what happened with a Swiss company with Swiss watches?
Electronic watches came into the industry,
right?
And Swiss watches really stuck with the wind up and stayed down for a little bit, and then they started to fall off being the #1 watchmakers. But recently they've been coming back as the top as they've adapted.
Right, and I think the Swiss watches is kind of an interesting thing to talk about because, you know, they were always known as the finest watches, right? And then digital came in, and the Swiss messed around with it a little bit, and then just decided that, no, this is what we do well, and we're going to continue doing that. And they lost market share, just like Kodak did, to the point where they were almost obliterated, right? And then what happened? They did come back, and what did they do? And it has to do with one of our questions on our quiz, right? They made a niche market for themselves. All right? Instead of just making everyday watches, they made really high-end watches, right? And so that's their little niche market. So there's a market for that. People want something because it's a high-quality item, right? And so Swiss watches did that. All right, electronic organs. All right, what's the story on electronic organs? How many have an electronic organ in your church? Most of you probably do. I know mine does. No? No electronic organ? Duncan?
Yeah, actually, my church, we had an organist for a while.
Right.
Then she transferred to a different church, and so like kind of, I guess as an example, like you have to have an organist to play an organ.
You do?
So
Well, actually, go ahead.
Once the organist left, like it just sat there for like a couple of years, and so we actually got rid of it this summer, and we have like synthesizers now that people who know how to play the piano can play it. So it kind of shows like how the electronic organ kind of phased out.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, so prior to the organ, so they did FM synthesis is how they create music with an organ, right? And so basically it's just frequency modulation in order to achieve different sounds, right? New technology. Nobody in the U.S. was even really interested in this, right? And so the guy, Chowning, I think it was his name, went to Japan. Notice how Japan, it keeps recurring here. Went to Japan, and a company bought his stuff. Anybody know what that company's name was?
I assume the company that makes everything but groceries, which is Yamaha.
Yamaha. All right. And so Yamaha organs, and you know, growing up, there were Yamaha organs everywhere. I mean, every church I ever visited had an organ. I'm pretty sure that most of your church probably have an organ in the basement somewhere. All right. Yeah, but now what's happened? What's happened with the organ? We're not using them nearly as much because you do. You have to have an organist. All right. But, so what do we replace that with? So you stream it live, you go to a recording, right? So technology has taken that next leap. We've gone to the next thing. All right. What's the future hold? What is it?
Click tracks.
What's that?
When you're on stage, you have like a little in-ear piece, and you'll have a metronome running with anything that you don't have actually playing live. So if you choose to have like a synthesizer part without having a synth player, you just run it electronically while the rest of it's running along with it.
There you go. So that's going on now, right?
Yeah. In fact, I think our worship group used one of those today for their string instruments.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, so the next step. All right. So transformation theory helps us to look at what's happened in the past so that we can look at what might happen in the future. The moral, grow, stagnate, or die, all right? You either have to adapt to change or you're just going to get the same thing that you've always gotten. All right? Everything changes. Nothing stays the same, right? Rocks change. Everything changes in life. All right? Some things change more slowly, but everything changes. All right? We talked a little bit about technology, and we talked about the technology of computers, right? And how it just keeps taking these leaps, right? And right now we're kind of at a bottleneck because the only way we can get faster is to make chips smaller, all right? And so we're getting smaller and smaller. The next big thing is quantum computing or the use of superconductors, all right? And it'll be interesting to see which one comes to fruition first. Okay? So the whole goal of transformation theory, understanding how things change, why things change, and being able to predict breakpoints. All right? We've already talked a little bit about this emergence thing, noticing patterns and trends. All right? I've talked about emergence. We need to be able to recognize when these patterns are starting to form and then to take action. You know, in the example that I gave with the cowbell IED, all right, recognizing that, hey, there's a pattern starting to form, all right, what can we do now to adapt to this? Well, we can gain some really insightful knowledge from that, and then we also took some proactive steps as well, which I can't get into. All right, growth curves. So growth goes up over time. We have 3 phases. All right, and so if you look at your life, even as your college life, and that's what we've got on here, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, okay, we went through this process, all right, these growth curves. All right, so when you first arrived on campus, what's that like? What's your first month or so on campus like? Matt?
A lot of talk and talking about how hard classes are going to be.
Okay. And then you took this class and you're like, this is easy.
Exactly.
He gives us all the answers. All right. All right. So in phase 1, we're just trying to figure out what's going on, right? We get dumped into a situation, sometimes by our own will, sometimes by somebody else's will, and we're just trying to figure it out. We're exploring our options. We're trying to understand what it is that we're doing, okay, and the opportunities that are presented to us. All right? Chaos. All right? I can think back when I went to basic training back in 1987. All right, and man, that first day, it's like, holy cow, how am I ever going to make sense of all this? All right, but I did. All right, just like your first week on campus, you know, well, I've got classes here, I got classes there, I got chapel, I've got meal times, I got community events, I've got hall events, I got all this stuff. How am I going to make it all work? How many people had those thoughts? Only a handful of you. The rest of you had it all, especially Taylor. Taylor's like, I've had it since day 1. All right, so phase 1, you know, is kind of chaotic. We're just trying to figure out where we're at and where we're going. Phase 2, we're starting to understand how things work. We're starting to develop strategies and plans, all right, about how we can be more effective in what we do. And we start to implement those, And so we're starting to grow, right? So we get in this, you know, and this is probably your junior, senior year. We're like, yeah, I've got this. I've been doing this for a while. I'm all about the Taylor community and how things work. I know how things work. I know how to get the most out of it, right? But what happens then? You're in your last semester of your senior year. What happens? Ladies?
Senioritis.
Senioritis, okay. Yeah, you know, we're kind of coasting, and, you know, but what's coming?
Real world things.
What? There's real world outside of here?
Well,
Yes. So we're getting ready to go into a new era, right? A new era of our life. And so some of the things that we've been doing to be successful here in phase 2 are not going to work in phase 3. Right? So if we do the same thing that we've been doing here where we were so successful, if we carry that over when we get that first job, things are probably going to crash because it's a different thing, right? So here we have to do figuring out a whole new set of rules, all right? A whole new set of strategies to survive and to do well and to flourish, all right? And in reality, we're probably just going to repeat this whole thing right over again, right? Because we get that first job and we're in this chaos, right? All right. My significant other, she got a new job here not quite a month ago, right? And she's quality control for Continental Tire. And she is losing her mind because she goes in and there are, I think, 13 different stations that she has to fully understand and be able to actually replace those operators so they can go on break, go on lunch, and all that good stuff. And she's losing her mind. Like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to get all this stuff, right? She's right here in this phase 1. It's chaos, all right? She's just trying to get a grip on where she's at and how she can make things work, all right? So understanding that, you know, we're going to have breakpoints in life. Your paper is going to talk about the whole COVID-19 process. Let's see. All right, so, oops. Where are you at right now in this? How many people are freshmen? Yeah. Okay. So midway through the semester, are you on the uptick, or are you still kind of scrambling? That's like I'm up. I'm going up. Okay. Andrew, how about you?
Only goes up from here.
It only goes up from here.
It's a long way up there, but
It's a long way up. All right. So who are my juniors? I got one junior. He's representing. Where are you at? Okay. Yeah, as a junior, you've already put the sophomore year behind. You're looking ahead to being a senior and like, yeah, the end is in sight. I can see it. So, again, this is just a tool, all right, that we can utilize to look at really any situation. And we can ask, okay, so where did we start at? Where was phase 1? Where does phase 1 start to transition into phase 2? Where are we at in our current process of whatever it is that we're doing? I started the business a year ago, right? I bought a facility just down the road, and you'd think after a year, right, I'd be here, all right? You want to know where I'm at? I'm right down here, okay? I've had 2 paying jobs so far. I've spent a lot of money, all right? You know, and so, but, you know, I'm looking ahead to what I can do. All right, there are some challenges that I had because I commit a lot of time here, and I also have some other obligations. And so it's going to take me a while to get into here. My goal is for next year to be breaking into phase 2. All right, so this is something that you can apply to anything. All right, and again, it just gives it a tool. So I've prayed with everyone here. Yes.
Would you say there's multiple growth curves going out at the same time in our life, and we're on different aspects?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you looked at any situation, it's probably going to have a different set of growth curves, right? All right, because different aspects of our life have different, we're in different places, right? So, yeah, everything that you do is probably, you're not going to be in the same place with each one. There's going to be a time, like right now, you know, I'm 50 years old, and most of the things in my life, I'm in that second phase, right? Just about everything. Because I'm comfortable in my skin, I know who I am, I know what my strengths are, I know what my weaknesses are, and I'm pretty good with it. All right, so most of the things in my life are in that. But again, I just started a business, and where am I at? You'd think that, man, this guy's got all this experience and all that. He ought to be well ahead of where he's at. Yeah, realistically, I figured in a year, I'd be on the uptake. I'd actually be making some money, not making a profit yet, but at least paying off some of the debt that I have associated with it. But I'm not, and it's okay. But that's a great question. Yeah, everything is going to have its own different growth curve. As you mature in life, you'll find that a lot more of your growth curves align. But you know, as you get into new things, it may not. Okay, so I have prayed with every single person here. One of the things that I pray about with every person is what? It's up there. Opportunity, right? So every day we experience obstacles. We look at them as obstacles, right? They're not. Every obstacle is an opportunity to learn and grow. All right? And we just have to take that mindset that, you know, even though things aren't going the way that we think they should be, all right, it's an opportunity. All right? And being able to recognize these opportunities and take advantage of them will make you very, very valuable. All right. A lot of companies and people move too slow to adapt. We don't like change. All right. How many people really like change? All right, Matt. What do you eat for breakfast? What's your breakfast?
I don't normally eat breakfast.
Okay, what's your lunch?
It depends on the day.
Okay, so typical day.
Some days it's Chick-fil-A, some days it's a salad, some days it's dashi, some days it's burger at the DC, just depends.
Okay, well, from now on you're eating vegan for lunch.
No.
Whoa!
I'm all for that free meat, not meat free.
Right, okay. Yeah, a lot, we hang on to the things that we're comfortable in. It's just human nature, right? And so we don't want to change until we have to. All right? And no, I'm not vegan. I am not vegan.
Really, I thought you were.
Yeah, no. I like to eat the moo. And just about anything that walks or crawls I've eaten at some point in time. They're all tasty in their own way. But if we look at, you know, these growth curves and say, you know, okay, where am I at? Where are things going? If we step back and take an objective look, all right, it can really tell you that, hey, it's time to start moving ahead, start planning to get out of the slump that I'm in, to start growing again. All right. So the key to all this is that the sooner that we can foresee where these growth curve breakpoints are going to be, all right, the more successful we are, the quicker we adapt, and the more successful we are at that process. Homework. This isn't actually on Moodle yet, but I will get it up I won't get it up there today, it's Friday. I'll get it posted on Monday, it'll be due the following Saturday. All right? Questions? All right, you guys have a great weekend.
That was just rounded out nicely.